Hi guys, it's Xee and Cyn, and today we're reacting to Mad Jack, a real-life World War II madman. It's my first time watching it, so we're gonna get into this. Let us hear your thoughts and comments in the comment section below, and let's get into it.
All right, guys, here we go right about now, baby.
One rainy day in the mid-1930s, a peculiar young officer smartly paraded up to the front of his platoon's formation and snapped into place with full military precision. Unlike the rest of his platoon, however, this particular officer was carrying an umbrella. Red in the face with anger and dripping wet in rain, the battalion adjutant immediately stormed over and demanded to know what in the blue blazes the officer was thinking carrying an umbrella to formation. Without missing a beat, the young officer simply responded, "Because it's raining, sir." John Malcolm Thorpe Fleming Churchill, or as he would later be known, Mad Jack or Fighting Jack, would be immediately reprimanded for his insubordination and preposterousness. But such reprimands were nothing new for the very bored officer. Amidst the brief interlude of peace between World War I and World War II, Churchill found his military service, well, rather dull. A rare breed of man, practically born to lead others on the battlefield, Churchill itched for excitement and chaos. When life failed to provide any, he sought it out himself, and at a time when roads were mostly non-existent in India, rode his motorcycle over 1,500 miles of the Southeast Asian countryside, often crossing rivers and chasms by pushing his bike along the rails of railroad tracks while he carefully stepped across the crossbeams.
Man want action. He wants action.
Yeah.
1,500 miles on a bike.
That's a lot. So much energy too. Jeez.
Look, rain or fall. Of course, I don't want to get wet. It's just crazy that he'll turn up and all his other, colleagues, they're standing in the rain.
With no
and
umbrellas.
he turn up with an umbrella. And the support, and remember, you're on the captain or whosoever is there, be like, they're standing in the rain, but you so brave.
To ease his peacetime boredom, Churchill also taught himself how to play the bagpipes, which at the time was not a particularly popular pastime for proper British men. But not one to half-ass anything, Churchill not only learned to play the bagpipes, he would go on to place second in the officers' class of the piping championships at Aldershot, a stunning feat considering he was the only Englishman amongst the 70 or so competitors. Bagpipes mastered, Churchill also took up a keen interest in archery and became such a proficient archer that he would go on to represent England in an international tournament. Churchill may have been a daredevil and an adrenaline junkie, but that didn't mean he disliked comfort. Quite the opposite. Not only would Churchill earn himself a reprimand for bringing an umbrella to military formation in the pouring rain, but he also was chastised for using a hot water bottle to keep warm at night in his cot, against military protocol. To bypass this minor technicality, Churchill instead used a piece of rubber tubing, which he filled with hot water. The regs, after all, forbade the use of hot water bottles, but said nothing about rubber tubes. While most military men measure their alleged toughness by their ability to suffer hardship, Churchill saw no need for such inane displays of machismo, or perhaps he was, as many sources state, bored out of his mind by peace, and entertained himself by annoying his senior leadership. Whatever the truth, if anyone thought Churchill was a soft man because he preferred to stay dry in the rain and sleep in warm comfort, they would be sorely mistaken, as the world was about to find out with the outbreak of World War II. In 1939,
This man was never bored. He kept himself busy with something.
But listen, it sounds so out there. You know what I mean? Like, he can't keep still.
No.
It's like a jack of all trade.
Mm-hmm.
A bagpipe.
Mm-hmm.
Archery.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
He can't sit still. Okay, you said me not to use hot water bottle? Me get a hose.
Okay.
I'm getting a hose because I need to be comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, that shows you that he was very intelligent.
And thought outside the box.
Yeah.
Very.
No, sir. I like him. Me like him. He's a my kind of man. Listen to me. Outside the box, indeed.
The German army invaded Poland from one side, as the Russians invaded from another. Polish defenders were caught between the two surging armies and quickly surrendered. The hostilities prompted Britain and France to declare war on Germany, and at last, Churchill's long stretch of peacetime boredom came to an end, commenting that I was back in my red coat, the country having gotten to a jam in my absence. Churchill left behind his brief peacetime life of modeling and appearing in famous films as an extra to ship out to France. However, upon arriving, Churchill was immediately disappointed. Despite German aggression against the Poles and Britain and France's declaration of war, both nations simply took up positions along the French-Maginot Line and did, well, nothing. Troops simply held their ground and generally tried not to be bored for weeks upon weeks, the lack of offensive operations being the result of Britain and France's lack of preparations for war, what historians would end up calling a slight oversight. Britain and France had completely failed to fully prepare for conflict, despite years of ratcheting German aggression and a whole lot of angry, tiny mustache chest pounding from Adolf Hitler. Whatever the case, Churchill found himself a victim of Allied unreadiness, a situation which did not suit him at all. There was a war on, damn it, and like a puppy straining on the leash, Churchill wanted his share of it. With the Soviets invading Finland, Churchill joined a volunteer detachment of British soldiers sent to aid Finn forces. They might not be Germans, but fighting anyone who was being an international dick was better than fighting nobody, Churchill supposed.
This man wants some action.
It's like I think he gets a rush.
Yes.
From being out there.
Yep.
Because it's like he couldn't sit still. Listen, it's too boring. This is not interesting. I want to be out there. He found himself in another group, you know.
Mm-hmm.
As long as he's fighting against the enemy, that's a good man to have on your side. Like, he's ready to go at all times.
Bidding his comrades adieu, Churchill joined the Finnish detachment. But before the expedition could get all the way to Finland, it was cancelled on account of some sudden and very severe German rudeness across the entire Maginot Line. Finland would have to fend for itself against the Soviets. At last, the proper war was on. Returning to his comrades, Churchill was immediately displeased at the British Army's failure to hold its ground against the overwhelming German blitzkrieg of tens of thousands of infantry, thousands of tanks, and an equal number of fighters and bombers. Churchill and his unit were then ordered to retreat, making for Dunkirk, where rescue awaited for the overwhelmed British and French forces. And if that rescue failed, the war could come to a very sudden and unpleasant end for the Allies. More than a fair bit annoyed at having to retreat, Churchill decided to creatively reinterpret his orders, and rather than simply fall back en masse, he engaged in an aggressive campaign of guerrilla raids and counterattacks against the German forces, leading small teams of hand-picked men. Churchill would rush roaring a battle cry into battle, holding aloft a large two-handed sword.
He was doing his own thing. You know, they told him, like, hey, let's go do this. Is the plan. This is what we're going to do. We're going to follow through with this. He's like, nah, I want some action.
Look,
he did his.
He's all for the action, period.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I wonder what was going through his head.
I wonder. But those are sometimes the type of people you need, like in the army, like those that are ready for that action. They're like, ooh. But like you said, when he's bored. But he keeps himself busy.
No, sir.
Like some anachronistic Highlander, Churchill waded into enemy fire and on more than one occasion spitted a German soldier on his claymore. Other times, Churchill would discard his rifle in favor of his longbow, sinking barbed shafts into the chests of Germans up to 100 yards away. Rumor has it that during one battle, a German officer asked for a list of casualties and injuries, only to be told that several of the casualties had been shot with arrows. The confused and irate officer warned his junior officer not to joke around with him, only to be shown the bodies with arrows still sticking out of them. Professional soldiers always expect the unexpected in combat, but nobody expected a mad Englishman shooting arrows in the midst of the greatest industrial age war in human history. During a lull in the fighting, Mad Jack Churchill, as he was now known, was spotted by a fellow officer riding his signature motorcycle, longbow on his back, arrows sticking out of packs strapped to his body.
This man's just doing his own thing. He is doing his own thing.
He's on another level. I'm sorry. He's on another level. Him have a sword. Him have bow and arrow. What else Churchill didn't have? I'm sorry.
Yeah. No,
he preferred
his bow and arrow
and his sword.
Yes.
Instead of
I'm like, dude, you're in a different era.
Look, so you can imagine how skilled he is.
Very skilled. Because, like I said, a lot of German soldiers died from those arrows.
It's crazy. I respect him more.
Yes.
I keep respecting him more and more. I'm like, the story sounds so far-fetched.
It does, but it's real.
That's the crazy thing. It sounds like
a story someone just made up. Because that's
What
a
is
madman,
that?
like I said. That was a madman. A madman doing his own thing, own rules. But I like that. He was brave and he had balls.
he wasn't careless.
No. And he was still alive. Like, I'm sorry, like, this man was still alive. Running his motorcycle on the
Guys, we're not laughing at don't get us wrong. It's the way you said it, and he was still alive.
Yes, because that sounds crazy to me. During a war, you're on your motorcycles,
Using bow and arrows.
bow and arrows, right?
And other people using
Guns.
modern weapons.
Yes.
That's crazy. That's why I say it sounds so far-fetched, like fiction.
Exactly.
But the crazy thing, it's true.
It's true. That's the crazy part.
Nope. Churchill was on another high.
A whole nother high.
Jeez.
and a German officer's cap on the motorcycle's headlamp. As Mad Jack dismounted, the officer noted a streak of blood across his ear and neck and asked about the fresh injury. Asking for a stiff drink in return, Churchill responded that he and his men had ran into a German machine gun and his men had screamed for him to run, but he had simply been too tired to. Churchill had thought it's simpler to destroy the machine gun nest, even after being shot through the neck. Successfully making it across the channel back to England, Churchill got wind of a new military organization being formed, called the Commandos. The request for volunteers was secretive, but promised aggressive military service, which was more than good enough for Churchill.
And he joined it. No more action now going for in there. They hear of a secret thing, a startup, and he joined.
Mm-hmm.
But listen to the crazy thing. He got what? Yes. Crazy thing about it, when asked his commanding officer asked him, because they saw some fresh blood on him, the man got shot in the neck. Him can't bother for run.
No.
He's tired. He's tired now. Cyn, think about it. I can't be bothered to run. Man, I'm tired. Everybody else running,
Yep.
He said, look, he just crawled over there and get rid of the machine gun.
This was different. A whole different breed.
Listen, you gotta give respect to this man.
Mm-hmm.
Mad Jack.
Mad
There
Jack.
must be can you imagine fighting with him? The stories that they have to tell?
Yep.
Man.
Janitors to Britain's modern special forces, commando service included weeks of training in demolitions, firearms, infiltration, and all manner of other topics which Churchill absolutely adored. During commando training, however, Churchill also met a woman whom he would immediately marry and remain happily married to for 55 years until his death. On December 27, 1941, Churchill had his chance to rejoin the war as the newly formed Commandos assaulted the German garrison at Vågsøy in Norway. Tasked with destroying the onshore artillery in preparation for a full-scale assault, Churchill stood in the lead landing craft with bagpipes, belting out the March of the Cameron Men as enemy machine guns strafed the oncoming boats. As soon as the ramps lowered, Churchill waded ashore ahead of his men, holding aloft his sword and, as one soldier put it, uttering warlike cries. A half-hour later, Churchill sent out a brief telegraph to headquarters, reading simply, Malloy Battery and Island captured. Casualties slight. Demolitions in progress. Churchill. Churchill would go on to win several military honors, as well as more than a few battle scars. But his greatest feats of valor would not come until the autumn of 1943, leading the Allied landings at Salerno in Italy. Churchill and his commandos found themselves fighting alongside American Rangers in the town of Marina. Both Churchill's commandos and the American Rangers were not designed to fight and operate as normal line infantry, lacking much of the heavy fire support that normal infantry brings to a fight, such as heavy machine guns and mortars. Armed mostly with rifles and grenades so that they could remain mobile, the commandos and Rangers found themselves at a severe disadvantage as German and Italian heavy infantry assaulted their position in waves. Though casualties were extremely high, the Allied forces beat back every assault. Growing bored of simply waiting for the Germans to come to him to get shot, Churchill decided it would be best to go where they were instead and shoot them there. Ignoring the fact that his forces were grossly outnumbered and had no heavy weapons and absolutely zero support, Churchill led a night raid against a heavily defended German position, rushing out from thick undergrowth and shouting "Commando!" Churchill and his small detachment destroyed the German position and took 136 prisoners.
In the night.
Man say, listen, I'm bored sitting here waiting for them to come and attack me.
Yep. You're not coming to me? I'm coming to you.
I'm coming to you. And it's crazy. They don't have sufficient ammo.
Yeah, compared to the Germans.
They don't have sufficient soldiers. They don't have enough, because they were outnumbered, outnumbered.
Yep.
And look what he did.
In the night, too.
And he just picked a handful of men. He didn't take everybody with him, He picked a handful of men. You can tell that he trusted them,
Yep. They're just like him, too.
Yeah, exactly. Because if you go and carry somebody, they have to have trust.
Yep. Have your back.
I know these few going to have my back.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have to worry about them, per se. Because they got this. They think like me, operate like me. Because you're not just going to pick, you're just all the way in here, but we're just going, no. I'm telling you, this just sounds so fake. It make you marvel. This one person just, Churchill, like we say, Churchill is just different, brother.
Churchill and one of his corporals, however, had managed to get themselves far ahead of the rest of their unit in the fighting, and suddenly heard the sound of dozens of Germans digging into fighting positions all around them in the nighttime darkness. Never one to waste a good opportunity, Churchill decided that it wouldn't do to march back to friendly lines alone, and instead unsheathed his giant sword and simply walked to the first German position, ordering the men to put their hands up in German. Perhaps thinking themselves visited by the ghost of an ancient medieval man, or simply doubting that even their bullets would touch a man with balls of steel so sturdy he waded into battle carrying a giant freaking sword. The Germans obliged and were taken prisoner. Churchill, however, wasn't done. He thought it wouldn't do for his German prisoners to be lonely, and thus decided to visit another German position. By the end of the night, Churchill and his corporal took 42 German prisoners, leading them back to the British and American lines at Swordpoint.
That's 176 soldiers,
Wow.
Or 78, Because first they had 136. Now him get 40 more. 176. So, just him and another. Do you realize not a lot of them,
No.
And all this in a dark.
And that sword of his. Wow.
I love him.
Yeah.
You gotta love somebody like this.
Yes.
Brave
for sure.
on another level. Balls of steel on another level.
On a whole nother. I never
and
listened
intelligent on another level.
Very
He has to be meticulous, man.
You have to be. You can't. This is your life. You can't be playing with other people's life like that. You have to be strategic, and you know what you're doing.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Churchill would go on to explain to a senior officer that as long as you tell a German loudly and clearly what to do, if you're senior to him, he will cry, "Jawohl," and get on with it enthusiastically and efficiently, whatever the situation. That's why they make such marvelous soldiers. Jawohl, and get on with it enthusiastically and efficiently, whatever the situation. That's why they make such marvelous soldiers. A few months later, however, Churchill himself would be taken prisoner, surrounded on all sides by Germans and with just 6 men and himself left alive, and with nothing more than revolvers and a single American carbine between them. Churchill fought on until the ammunition ran out, and a mortar killed 3 of his other men and wounded another. With nothing left to shoot back with, and apparently separated from his trusty sword, Churchill pulled out his bagpipes and prepared to meet his end, playing "Will Ye No Come Back Again," until a German grenade knocked him unconscious. Churchill would be sent to a POW camp, but was quickly growing bored of not killing Germans. He hastily made an escape. Upon his recapture, he was sent to an even more well-guarded POW camp, only to escape again, meeting...
I'm sorry.
This sounds like a movie. Like, this man is a whole... just his life alone, him in these battles is like a whole movie. It sounds so fiction, but it's real. He uses bagpipes.
Man, ready to get alive. Guys, you
Use
know,
the bagpipes.
YouTuber is
Very sensitive.
ready to get unalive.
Alive.
Him say, you know what, let's call it a day. Let me zone, let me go out in glory using my bagpipe.
You can't make this stuff up.
And like, if you make this up, you'll be wicked to us.
Yes.
like seriously? Bagpipe. And it's a grenade close by.
Yes. And they took him to jail. Prison, and he escaped 2 times.
Lock you up, you know. Well guarded area.
Yeah.
And you managed to escape.
Because he was
Twice.
bored.
Bored time now, get rid of them.
Yes.
This just look, man. Now.
Hanging up with a column of American armor, Churchill was rescued, but appalled to hear that the war was nearly over. Returning to his unit, Churchill commented, "There are still nips, aren't there?" And thus, Churchill volunteered to ship off to the Pacific. Sadly for Churchill, upon his arrival, the Americans dropped their second nuclear bomb, and the Japanese quickly surrendered. A heartbroken Churchill would go on to say to a friend, "If it hadn't been for those damned Yanks, we could have kept the war going on for another 10 years.
Why you gotta do it?
He was heartbroken.
Why you gotta do the Americans like that? To say it wasn't for them damn Yankees.
You'd have been
Yeah.
Been on war for another 10 years.
Can you imagine the thrill, the rush he gets out of this?
Man.
And this is it, guys. When you listen to this to yourself, it's like, and he's still alive.
That's what I'm saying. And his man is still alive. He put his life on the risk, did some really questioning things.
And married, you know.
And married man.
And he's like, he just got he got back to his unit and jump on a ship and go I keep saying Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Cause him wine at the Japanese heartbroken because US already deal with that.
Yes.
So disappointed turning back. Listen, like I said, you gotta give due.
Yep.
You gotta give due because Churchill was unlike any other man.
A whole nother man.
Right now, he remind me like Fred Dibner.
Fred, yes.
Sitting up,
Fred.
like just brave,
On balls of steel.
Balls of steel.
Doing some brave stuff. Mm-mm.
I know he's a steel jack, but they're just no, in another class.
Telling another friend that the Japanese had double-crossed him by surrendering, Churchill immediately began to look for an opportunity to join the many brush wars raging in the aftermath of World War II. He got his chance in 1948 when Arab forces tried to drive the Jews from what would become Israel. Present in his full dress uniform at a battalion parade, Churchill got news that a Jewish medical convoy had been ambushed by Arab forces. Not wasting a moment, Churchill immediately rushed to their aid, still wearing full dress uniform. Boldly rushing down the middle of the road and into the teeth of the battle, Churchill commented later that "I grinned like mad from side to side, as people are less likely to shoot you if you smile at them." Churchill would go on to rescue 700 Jewish civilians and earn greater military honors for his deeds. At the end of the hostilities, Churchill then went to teach at various military schools, ending his career while serving as an instructor at the Land Air Warfare School in Australia. Giving up on its many attempts to kill him, life would let Churchill live out his days happily next to his wife until his peaceful death in 1996, leaving behind an extraordinary legacy of courage and, well, no small amount of lunacy. Best remembered for his signature claymore which he waded into battle with, Churchill once answered a general awarding him a decoration who asked about the weapon by saying, "In my opinion, sir, any officer who goes into action without his sword is improperly dressed." Was Mad Jack Churchill truly crazy or just insanely brave? Want to see stories about more historical badasses?
Both. Wow. Both.
Look. Where can you go from that?
Mm-mm.
Look, guys, we're speechless over here.
Because it sounds so crazy, far-fetched, made up, exaggerated. But this was true. There was a man like Mad Jack out there on the war who, like you said, had that rush for just being out there fighting. he had such passion for it. Like he just loved it. You know how some people just thrive in their certain element? That was his element. His world. That was what he did best, and he did a damn good job at it.
I like the way you put it. Strive in his element, and that was his.
That was his element.
To dominate.
Because who does that? Drinking tea? Well, playing that. Like,
not running from.
Not running, just chilling. Like, you're your element.
Man, something was covering him, man.
Oh, something.
He had extra.
Because there are so many opportunities for him to be gone.
That's
so many.
He said that. It's like from being unalive so many times, but he lived out his life after that. And you can see he teached. It's like he couldn't walk away at all.
Mm-mm.
So not only mad, but smart.
Smart, yeah.
Mad in a good sense, you know. When I think about the madness, it's a mad good, you know.
There's a good man. There's a bad man.
Exactly.
This is a good man.
He was good mad.
Yeah, good mad.
My respects.
Yes.
And 1994, 96, it's not really that long ago, you know.
Not that long ago.
Yes.
Yes, Raya.
No more. Not another Oreo. No more. That's enough. And that's Araya for you guys. No. Oh.
It's your girl Xee and Cyn, and thank you for tuning on this Mad Jack, this crazy madman. But we love him so much because that's some nice bravery.
Look here. I salute.
Yes, we salute.
Before you go, guys. And this is something I said to Cyn, and I've said it in my other videos. It's like people from the UK. Like I said to Cyn, guys, I don't know, and I think you guys have heard me say this before. If you haven't, well, you people from the UK have a different sense of bravery to me, because each of these videos, since I've been learning about the UK, I'm like, it's like they're on another level when it comes to not being afraid of certain things.
Mm-hmm.
You ever notice?
Yeah.
Brave, but sensible brave.
Mm-hmm.
If you know what I mean.
I don't know about Mad Jack. Because that's a different. Him and Fred are up there. I'm sorry. Like in their own things. But those are different braveries that I would not do. I'm sorry.
Listen. Ooh, I gotta show you one with the gurkers. Love you guys.
Bye.
And we'll see you guys in another one. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit the like, hit the subscribe if you haven't already. Share with your friends and family and tell them to come on and check out Xee and Cyn over here and have a laugh as well. Bye.
Bye.